another nail in my coffin.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and this is my series Nails in the Coffin, where we learn that with great kills, there must also come great nails. What I do here on Nails in the Coffin, I perform a kill analysis on the on-screen kills in horror movies. I rate how well a person responds to a life-threatening situation, and I use Nails in the Coffin as a rating system. You can get from 1 to 4 nails. 1 nail means the victim made a lot of stupid decisions that aided in their demise. Now, we've all seen horror movies where we yell at the screen, why is that stupid person doing this? They're just going to die. Well, when the victim does that, they can get 1 nail in the coffin. But they can't get up to 4 nails in the coffin if they make smart decisions, they fight really hard, or if they sacrifice themselves to save others. Because the smarter decisions you make, you're going to get nailed a lot more. Makes sense. Last week, I covered A24's X, directed by Ty West, and I'm covering the sequel today, Pearl, which is an actual prequel to X. Both films were filmed back-to-back and released in the same year. The end of X actually had a surprise trailer for Pearl on it. Now, I can't wait for Maxine, which is due out later this year, and that's going to close out Ty West's trilogy with Mia Goth. X took place in 1979 and Pearl took place in 1918, where Pearl was a young woman living with her German immigrant parents in Texas while her husband Howard fights in World War I. Pearl does have dreams of being a big movie star. Let's see how those dreams work out for her as we give Pearl some nails in the coffin. Pearl's father is frail and paralyzed, and her overbearing mother, Ruth, makes Pearl take care of her father and the farm. Pearl wants more in life. She loves the films she sees at the local cinema. We learn a bit about Pearl during the opening credits. Pearl wants to be a chorus girl, but her mom, of course, disapproves. And Pearl was dancing around the barn, fantasizing about being a star. A duck walks into the barn, and we learn there's an actual darker side to Pearl when she kills the duck. During dinner, we also learn how overbearing Pearl's mom is, and you can see how this is negatively affecting Pearl. We get to our first kill just about 49 minutes into the film. One night over dinner, Pearl and her mom get into this heated argument when her mom finds a program that Pearl took from the movie theater. There's a projectionist who works at the theater that Pearl has a crush on, and they've kind of been seeing each other. The fight between Pearl and her mom actually gets physical. Ruth smacks Pearl. Pearl shoves her mom into the kitchen hearth, catching her dress on fire. Her mom does suffer from third-degree burns all over her body. Pearl, drags her mother into the basement and leaves her there, and she then goes to the movie theater, finds a projectionist, and chooses to have sex with them. Pearl's mom dies while she's in the basement, and I'm going to give her 1.5 nails in the coffin. She pushed Pearl to her breaking point. She was super overbearing. She could actually give Carrie's mom a run for her money. Now, I don't know when stop, drop, and roll became a thing if you were on fire. I'm not sure how much it would have helped. I kind of think it would be instinctual, but I'm not sure. Regardless, Ruth's actions towards Pearl were 100% responsible for her demise. I have to argue it was stupid to treat your child the way that she treated Pearl. It's not the best to get into a shoving, slapping match in a small kitchen with an open fire close by. Plus, when she was on fire, she never dropped and rolled on the ground or did anything to get it off. She just kind of screamed and stood there. But Pearl is a wackadoo, but Ruth does bear the brunt of the responsibility here. So the first one to get nailed in Pearl was Ruth, and she gets nailed with 1.5 nails in the coffin. The next day at the barn, Pearl is there with the projectionist, and that's what he goes by in his film. His name is never mentioned, and in the credits, it's actually projectionist. She's showing him around, and you can see the look of concern growing on him. You know, Pearl thinks he's going to take her to Europe with him. Now, she's acting real sketchy, and the projectionist was kind of weirded out by the rotted pig on the porch. And he kind of wants to leave, and he tells Pearl good luck with her audition. Pearl doesn't know why he wants to leave all of a sudden, and she quickly gets upset, like super upset, and starts to scream at him. He gets frightened by her behavior, and he gets in his car to leave. Pearl grabbed a pitchfork and followed him out of the barn. He starts his car, but before he can drive away, Pearl is standing next to the car and stabs him twice in the chest with the pitchfork. The car rolls into the yard, and Pearl drags his body out after the car stops. She drags it out, throws it on the ground, and then finishes him off by stabbing the pitchfork into his mouth. I'm going to award the projectionist 2 nails in the coffin. He hooked up with Pearl and was trying to help her out before her audition. You know, he started to notice holes in her story. You know, some things weren't adding up. They weren't feeling right. So like a smart person, he wanted to leave. She just went full crazy on him very quickly, but he remained calm to keep her calm. And I like that was one of really smart thing that he did. I like that part of his character. He remained nice and calm. He didn't call her crazy or loopy or anything. He tried to keep her calm. So I think that was really smart. Now, he got in his car and tried to leave. He was still being polite. She just followed him to the car. And when he started it, he didn't have much time to react when Pearl was standing there with the pitchfork up. And he didn't die right away, so the last minute of his life really must have sucked. You know, the car rolled into the yard, she dragged him out, and then finished him off. Now, I really didn't see him do anything stupid, but I also feel like he could have paid a little bit more attention to Pearl, maybe looking over his shoulder. Since she was clearly unstable, that's why I'm not going to give him more than 2 nails in a coffin. But I think he was definitely one of the smartest people, you know, in this movie. So I'm going to give him a very high and solid 2 nails in the coffin. After killing the projectionist, Pearl gives her dad a bath, and then she goes into her mother's closet and puts on one of her fanciest dresses and prepares to leave for her audition. Before she leaves, you know, she shows her father how lovely she looks in the dress, twirling around for him, and all he can really do is watch. Pearl goes over to the bed and gets a pillowcase. She says goodbye to her father, thanking him and telling him that he was loved. Before she leaving, she takes the pillowcase and she does smother him to death. Yeah, there's nothing this man could have done in the condition he was in, so he gets 2 nails in the coffin. You know, he couldn't do anything for himself. He just sat there and his wife get burned and beat up. His daughter slowly got off the deep end and he couldn't do anything. He needed 24/7 care. He needed to be fed, bathed, dressed, you know, everything. Nothing was in his control. Yeah, there's nothing he could have done here, so not much else to say. He got 2 nails in the coffin. After killing her father, Pearl dumps the projectionist car with him in it into the lake so her alligator can feed off of him. And then she goes to her audition. She performs her routine, and for her, it's this big musical number with background dancers and everything, but it's all in her head. After she finishes the routine, the silence is deafening. The casting agents choose not to use her. They are looking for someone else. They told Pearl she didn't have the X factor. She wasn't the all-American girl. She doesn't take the news well and has a breakdown. Her sister-in-law Misty does console her, and they go back to the farm together. Back at the farm in the kitchen, Pearl and Misty are talking, and Pearl winds up confessing everything that she's done. During the conversation, Misty does tell Pearl that she got the part that Pearl auditioned for. Pearl tells Misty that she's happy for her. Misty goes to leave the house because she's really kind of concerned about what Pearl has been telling her, and she slowly walks out of the door, but Pearl follows her out of the door and she picks up an axe. Misty starts to run away, calling for help, and then she's running along the road, but she trips because movie, and Pearl catches up to her. She starts to swing the axe into Misty's back. After a few hits, Misty goes down and she starts begging for her life, but it's too late, and Pearl kills her with the final blow from the axe. This was our final death in Pearl, only 4 deaths in this movie, but I'm going to award Misty 1 nail in the coffin. She just kind of sat there in shock as Pearl made her confessions, and she finally did leave, and you could tell she wasn't feeling safe. And when Pearl followed out of the house and picked up the axe, Misty began to run. But she really didn't run. She kind of just jogged. There was never like a full-on sprint as you would run if somebody was really chasing you with an axe. Now, she wasn't wearing high heels or anything that would slow her down. And of course, she trips because that always happens in movies. But I just didn't see Misty do anything really trying to survive. She should have got herself out of there way sooner. And she should have did a dead out sprint once, you know, she saw Pearl with the axe. I don't know if Pearl still would have caught up, but she could have tried to run, pick up a weapon, do something instead of just kind of doing this little slow trot she did. She didn't have much of a survival instinct, and that's going to result in her only getting 1 nail in the coffin. Pearl, she chops up Misty's body, and she also feeds it to her alligator. She props up her parents' bodies at the kitchen table and has dinner with them, even though I wouldn't want to eat any of that food. Howard does come home for the war to see Pearl, and he walks into the house and gets a nice surprise when he sees what Pearl has at the kitchen table. Her 2 dead parents seated in front of a rotten meal. He just stands there stunned at the sight of this. Pearl, she's standing to the side. She greets Howard, and they look at each other with these really weird looks on their face, really disconcerting, as the movie ends. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all my nails in the coffin for Pearl. Here's a summary of all the nails I've awarded. And a quick comparison between X and Pearl. X had an average of 1.57 nails, and Pearl just slightly higher with an average of 1.63 nails in the coffin. Now, after watching both of these movies, I like them pretty much the same, looking at all the victims, how the way they all died, and it pretty much makes sense that they, came in just right about the same average, very close. Now, I did love these movies. I did prefer X slightly over to Pearl. I did enjoy Pearl. I just enjoyed X a lot more. I really liked all the characters in that film. I think that film had a great Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Psycho feel to it. Pearl was kind of more of like a little standalone, but it was great as a prequel. I am very much looking forward to Maxine, which should be out later on this year. Thanks again for watching. Now, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss a video. And don't forget to check out my other series. I have my horror debate series and my Let's Nail This series. I'll have some cards up here for you to check those out. Now, if you like what I did here on Nails in a Coffin, and if you pick out the stupid decisions people do in horror movies, you can be part of my Let's Nail This series. So what you do is shoot me an email. I'll have a link down in the description with my email. And I'll assign you a kill that I gave one nail in the coffin, and then you get to tell the audience what you would have done in that victim's position, how you would have survived. So if you wanted to be part of it, I could assign you Misty's death, and you can tell me what you would have done if you were in Misty's position. It's a lot of fun. Check out my other Let's Nail This episodes. There's a bunch up already. If you want to be part of it, just shoot me an email. It should be a lot of fun. Thanks a lot. Take care of yourselves. Take care. Stay safe. Be good to each other. I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and remember, with great kills, there must also come great nails.